Investigating the raw footage hidden from reality. You are watching Bodycam Story Vault. Enter now.
Something I can help you with, gentlemen?
Sir, we need to see some identification or proof of legal status.
Legal status? Do you know who I am?
You fit the description of someone we're looking for. That's all I know, sir.
Call your supervisor. You don't want to do that.
All right, you're being detained until we verify your status.
Tuesday morning, 7:12 a.m. The same coffee shop Chief Patterson had visited every week for 8 years. The same order, large black coffee, no sugar. The same routine before the 8 a.m. briefing at the station. The same town his family had lived in for 4 generations. ICE agent Derek Walsh interrupted that routine with 6 words, "Proof of legal status, sir." Patterson was wearing his dress uniform shirt. His badge was visible on his belt. His unmarked police SUV was parked at the curb with municipal plates. Every indicator of who he was, visible, obvious, ignored. You fit the description of someone we're looking for. The description was black. The someone was a police chief with 32 years of service, 2 Medals of Valor, and an FBI National Academy credential. The looking was about to cost Walsh everything. $5.2 million. Career destroyed. And a Tuesday morning that became a federal civil rights case, because one agent couldn't imagine that the black man getting coffee might be the highest-ranking law enforcement officer in town. Maplewood Avenue stretched through the heart of downtown. Coffee shops and boutiques, the library where Patterson had learned to read, the barber shop where his father had taken him for his first haircut 50 years ago. The town had changed over the decades, but the bones remained the same. 30,000 residents. Tree-lined streets. A community that knew its history and the families that had built it. The Patterson family was one of those families. His grandfather, William Patterson Sr., had returned from World War II as a member of the 92nd Infantry Division, the Buffalo Soldiers who had fought in Italy while America still debated whether black men could serve in combat. He had bought a house on Valley Street with his Army savings. For generations later, the Patterson family still lived in that house. His father had worked sanitation for 40 years, knew every street by its trash day, every neighbor by their recycling habits. His mother had managed the school cafeteria for 3 decades. Generations of Maplewood children remembered her smile and her meatloaf. William Patterson III had become a cop. Patrol officer at 23. Detective at 29. Sergeant at 34. Lieutenant, captain, deputy chief. Every rank earned through cases closed and respect built. 8 years ago, the town council had appointed him chief of police. 32 years of service. 2 Medals of Valor. FBI National Academy, Class 267. The man who had dismantled drug trafficking operations as an undercover detective in Newark, who had coached youth football every Saturday for 15 years, who had walked his daughter down the aisle and watched his son pin on Marine Corps bars. This Tuesday morning, he wore his dress uniform shirt, crisp white, department patches on the shoulders, gold chief's badge visible on his belt. Standard attire for a station briefing. The unmarked SUV at the curb had municipal plates, emergency lights hidden behind the grill, the radio still crackling with overnight dispatch traffic. He stepped out of the morning grind with his coffee, large, black, no sugar, and saw the 2 agents approaching. Olive tactical vests, 10 cargo pants, black boots, the ICE insignia visible on their shoulders. Patterson recognized the posture before he registered the uniforms. Officers approaching someone they've decided to stop. The angle of approach that cuts off escape routes. The hands positioned near equipment. He had trained officers to approach exactly like that. He had also trained them to recognize badges. Agent Derek Walsh stopped 3 feet from him. His partner hung back, positioned at an angle that would later provide a second body cam perspective on everything that followed. Morning, officers. Patterson's voice carried the authority of 32 years. Something I can help you with, gentlemen? Walsh's response would cost him his career, his freedom, and his agency $5.2 million. Sir, we need to see some identification. Proof of legal status. Patterson's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. The request landed on Maplewood Avenue like something that belonged in a different country or a different century. Legal status? That's correct, sir. We're conducting enforcement operations in the area. Enforcement operations. Patterson looked at the street around him. The coffee shop he had patronized for 8 years. The business is owned by people he had known his entire life. The sidewalk where he had learned to ride a bicycle. In Maplewood. We've received reports of unauthorized individuals using this area as a transit point. Reports from whom? That's operational information. I'm law enforcement. I'd say operational information is relevant to me. Walsh's partner had positioned himself to the left. His body cam was active. Axon Body 2. Timestamp 7 hours 12 minutes and 47 seconds, capturing the scene from a wider angle. The coffee shop's security camera added a third perspective from the storefront. Sir, I need to see identification. Proof that you're authorized to be in this country. Patterson looked at Walsh with an expression that had corrected officers for 3 decades. Do you know who I am? I know you fit the description of someone we're looking for. That's all I need to know. What description? That's need to know. I'm the chief of police of this town. I'd say I need to know what description is being used to stop people on my streets. Walsh's expression flickered, the first sign that this encounter wasn't following the script he had expected. You're the police chief. Chief William Patterson. 32 years in law enforcement. 8 years running this department. He gestured to the badge on his belt. Gold, clearly marked, impossible to mistake for anything other than what it was. This badge has been on my belt since I walked out of my house this morning. My SUV is parked at the curb with municipal plates and emergency equipment. I'm wearing a department uniform shirt. Uniforms can be purchased. Badges can be faked. Not this badge. Not in this town. Anyone on this street can tell you who I am. A woman emerging from the coffee shop had stopped, Martha Chun, who owned the flower shop 3 doors down. Her face showed the confusion of someone watching something impossible unfold. Chief Patterson, is everything okay? Good morning, Martha. These officers seem to think I need to prove I belong in Maplewood. Prove you belong? You've lived here longer than I have. Walsh turned toward her. Ma'am, please step back. This doesn't concern you. It concerns all of us if you're stopping people on our sidewalks for no reason. I have reasons. What reasons? Patterson's voice had dropped to the temperature that made sergeants reconsider their choices. You said I fit a description. What description? Black man. Middle-aged? Buying coffee. Sir, your attitude is making this more difficult than it needs to be. My attitude is 32 years of law enforcement telling you that you're making a mistake. My attitude is knowing exactly what a pretextual stop looks like, because I've disciplined officers for conducting them. He set his coffee cup on the windowsill of the coffee shop. Call your supervisor. You don't want to do this. Walsh's hand moved to his belt. Actually, sir, I do. I'm giving you an opportunity to stop this before it becomes a federal incident. Patterson's voice carried the measured calm of a man who had talked armed suspects into surrendering, who had delivered death notifications to grieving families, who had testified in cases that sent killers to prison for life. 32 years had taught him that composure was the most powerful weapon available. Call your supervisor. Verify who I am. It takes 30 seconds. I don't need to verify anything. You need to verify everything. That's basic procedure. When someone identifies themselves as law enforcement, you confirm before you escalate. Anyone can claim to be law enforcement. Anyone can claim. Not anyone can produce this. Patterson reached slowly toward his belt, the deliberate movement of someone who understood how officers interpreted sudden gestures. He unclipped his badge and held it out, gold gleaming in the morning light. Chief of Police. Maplewood, New Jersey. Badge number 001. There's exactly one of these in existence. Walsh examined the badge with theatrical suspicion, the same dismissive scrutiny that Crawford had faced, that Reynolds had faced, that Brooks had faced. The pattern of officers who couldn't imagine black credentials were real. This could be fake. It's not fake. I've carried this badge for 8 years. The mayor presented it to me at my swearing-in ceremony. The entire town council was there. How do I know that? Call the Maplewood Police Department. The number is on the badge. Ask for dispatch. Tell them you're standing here with Chief Patterson. They'll confirm in 10 seconds. Walsh's partner spoke for the first time, quietly, directed at his colleague. Derek, maybe we should verify. We'll verify at the field office. He's showing us a police badge, which could be fake. Patterson looked at the partner, at his body cam, at the doubt visible in his posture. What's your name? Agent Reyes. Agent Reyes, your partner is about to detain a police chief in his own jurisdiction. He has refused to verify my credentials through any official channel. He has dismissed my badge as potentially fake without any basis. This is being recorded by your body cam, by his body cam, by the coffee shop security camera, and buy at least 2 cell phones. He gestured toward the growing number of bystanders who had stopped to watch. Several had phones raised. When this becomes a federal civil rights case, and it will become a federal civil rights case, your participation will be scrutinized. Your silence makes you complicit. Reyes shifted uncomfortably. His bodycam captured the uncertainty. Derek, I think we should. I think you should let me handle this. Walsh stepped closer to Patterson. His hand remained near his belt, near his cuffs. Sir, you can either provide documentation proving your immigration status, or you're being detained until we can verify. Immigration status. Patterson let the absurdity of the words hang in the air. My grandfather fought in World War II. My family has been in this country for generations before yours probably arrived. I was born in the hospital 3 miles from here. My birth certificate is on file with the state of New Jersey. Everyone has a story. This isn't a story. This is documented history. This is a police badge. This is a uniform shirt with department patches. This is 32 years of service to a community you're insulting by conducting this stop. Walsh reached for his handcuffs. You're being detained until we verify your status. I warned you. Remember that I warned you. Turn around. Patterson didn't turn. He stood facing Walsh, facing the cameras, facing the moment that would define both of their careers. You're making a career-ending mistake. Turn around. Now. The handcuffs emerged from Walsh's belt with the practiced motion of someone who had used them hundreds of times. Patterson remained facing him, not resisting, not complying, simply standing. I am Chief William Patterson of the Maplewood Police Department. I am being detained without probable cause by ICE agents who have refused to verify my credentials. I want this statement on the record for all recording devices present. Turn around. I will comply under duress with what I believe to be an unlawful detention. He turned slowly. His hands moved behind his back without being told. The muscle memory of a man who had handcuffed and been handcuffed during training exercises more times than he could count. The metal clicked around his wrists. A gasp from the growing crowd. Martha Chun had her hand over her mouth. A man in a business suit had stopped mid-step, briefcase hanging at his side. A mother pulled her child closer, shielding young eyes from what was unfolding. This is ridiculous, someone said. That's Chief Patterson. He's the chief of police. What are you doing? Walsh ignored the voices. His bodycam captured his focus on Patterson, the narrow determination of someone who had committed to a course of action and couldn't see a way back. We're going to transport you to the field office for processing. Processing. Patterson's voice remained level despite the handcuffs. You're going to process the chief of police like a suspect. Until your status is verified. My status is verified. I'm standing in front of my own coffee shop, in my own town, wearing my own badge. Everyone on this street knows who I am. Knowing someone doesn't prove legal status. Nothing proves legal status to someone who's decided not to see it. Reyes had moved toward their vehicle, a white Dodge Durango with federal plates parked at the corner. His bodycam captured his approach, his posture, his obvious discomfort with what was happening. Derek, his voice was strained. We should wait for verification. This doesn't feel right. It'll feel fine when we confirm he's who he says he is. And if he is who he says he is? Silence. Derek, if that badge is real, if he actually is the police chief, then we apologize and move on. That's not how this works. You know that's not how this works. Patterson turned his head slightly, looking at Reyes over his shoulder. Your partner is about to find out exactly how this works. The Maplewood Police Department is 3 blocks from here. My deputy chief is at the station right now. In approximately 4 minutes, someone is going to call him and tell him what's happening. Walsh grabbed his arm. Let's go. And when he arrives, and he will arrive, you're going to have to explain why you detained his chief on the sidewalk of our own town. The crowd had grown to 20 people. Phones everywhere. The particular energy of witnesses to something they knew was wrong. A woman in scrubs, Patterson recognized her as a nurse at the urgent care clinic, was already on her phone. Yes, I need to speak with someone at the Maplewood Police Department. There's an emergency on Maplewood Avenue. Someone needs to get down here right now. Walsh began walking Patterson toward the Durango. You're making a mistake. You keep saying that. And you keep not listening. 3 blocks away, Deputy Chief Angela Morrison was about to receive a phone call that would send her running out of the station. The call that would end Derek Walsh's career. The handcuffs emerged from Walsh's belt with the practiced motion of someone who had used them hundreds of times. Patterson remained facing him, not resisting, not complying, simply standing. "I am Chief William Patterson of the Maplewood Police Department. I am being detained without probable cause by ICE agents who have refused to verify my credentials. I want this statement on the record for all recording devices present. Turn around. I will comply under duress with what I believe to be an unlawful detention." He turned slowly. His hands moved behind his back without being told. The muscle memory of a man who had handcuffed and been handcuffed during training exercises more times than he could count. The metal clicked around his wrists. A gasp from the growing crowd. Martha Chun had her hand over her mouth. A man in a business suit had stopped mid-step, briefcase hanging at his side. A mother pulled her child closer, shielding young eyes from what was unfolding. "This is ridiculous," someone said. "That's Chief Patterson. He's the chief of police. What are you doing?" Walsh ignored the voices. His bodycam captured his focus on Patterson, the narrow determination of someone who had committed to a course of action and couldn't see a way back. "We're going to transport you to the field office for processing." "Processing?" Patterson's voice remained level despite the handcuffs. "You're going to process the chief of police like a suspect. Until your status is verified." "My status is verified. I'm standing in front of my own coffee shop, in my own town, wearing my own badge. Everyone on this street knows who I am." Knowing someone doesn't prove legal status. Nothing proves legal status to someone who's decided not to see it. Reyes had moved toward their vehicle, a white Dodge Durango with federal plates parked at the corner. His bodycam captured his approach, his posture, his obvious discomfort with what was happening. "Derek," his voice was strained. "We should wait for verification. This doesn't feel right. It'll feel fine when we confirm he's who he says he is. And if he is who he says he is?" Silence. "Derek, if that badge is real, if he actually is the police chief, then we apologize and move on. That's not how this works. You know that's not how this works." Patterson turned his head slightly, looking at Reyes over his shoulder. "Your partner is about to find out exactly how this works. The Maplewood Police Department is 3 blocks from here. My deputy chief is at the station right now. In approximately 4 minutes, someone is going to call him and tell him what's happening." Walsh grabbed his arm. "Let's go. And when he arrives, and he will arrive, you're going to have to explain why you detained his chief on the sidewalk of our own town." The crowd had grown to 20 people. Phones everywhere. The particular energy of witnesses to something they knew was wrong. A woman in scrubs, Patterson recognized her as a nurse at the urgent care clinic, was already on her phone. "Yes, I need to speak with someone at the Maplewood Police Department. There's an emergency on Maplewood Avenue. Someone needs to get down here right now." Walsh began walking Patterson toward the Durango. "You're making a mistake. You keep saying that. And you keep not listening." 3 blocks away, Deputy Chief Angela Morrison was about to receive a phone call that would send her running out of the station. The call that would end Derek Walsh's career. Deputy Chief Angela Morrison had been on the force for 24 years. She had worked beside Patterson for 18 of them, watching him rise, rising with him, becoming the second highest ranking officer in a department they had helped build together. The call came at 7:19 a.m. The desk sergeant's voice was urgent. "Chief, you need to get to the morning grind. Now." "What's happening?" "It's Chief Patterson. They're putting him in handcuffs." "ICE agents." "They're what?" "I'm looking at a video someone's texting in real time. They have Chief Patterson in cuffs on the sidewalk." Morrison was moving before the sentence finished. Her cruiser was in the lot. Lights and sirens. 3 blocks covered in 45 seconds. She pulled up to a scene that looked like something from a civil rights documentary. A crowd of civilians with phones raised. 2 ICE agents beside a federal vehicle. And Chief Patterson, her chief, her mentor, the man who had taught her what professional policing looked like, standing in handcuffs near the back door. She was out of the cruiser before it fully stopped. "What the hell is going on here?" Walsh turned. His hand remained on Patterson's arm. "Ma'am, this is a federal matter. That man is my chief. That's Chief Patterson. What the hell have you done?" She walked directly toward them, not running, but with the authority of someone who owned this street, this town, this jurisdiction. "Chief, are you injured?" "I'm fine, Angela. Just detained for buying coffee." "Detained?" She turned to Walsh with an expression that had made suspects confess. You detained the chief of police of Maplewood? Ma'am, he fit the description. What description? Black man. That's not a description. That's a demographic. We had reports of unauthorized individuals. Unauthorized? Morrison's voice rose. He's been authorized to be in this town since the day he was born. He's been authorized to run this department for 8 years. His family has been in Maplewood for 4 generations. We couldn't verify. You couldn't verify? Did you call our department? Did you check his badge? Did you ask anyone on this street who he is? The badge could have been. The badge is right there. Morrison pointed to Patterson's belt, where the gold shield still hung despite the handcuffs. Chief of Police. Maplewood. Badge 001. There's one of those in existence, and it belongs to this man. Reyes had stepped back from the confrontation. His bodycam captured his face, the expression of someone watching a catastrophe unfold and knowing he had helped cause it. Uncuff him. Now. Ma'am, I can't. You can. You will. Or I'm calling the Essex County Prosecutor, the New Jersey Attorney General, and every news station in the tri-state area. This will be on the morning news before you make it back to your field office. Walsh's face had completed the transformation that came with catastrophic realization. The certainty was gone. The authority was gone. What remained was the growing understanding that he had just handcuffed a man who outranked him in ways that mattered. Uncuff him. Morrison's voice left no room for discussion. Walsh reached for his key. The handcuffs came off with a click that seemed to echo across the silent street. Patterson brought his arms forward. He rubbed his wrists, the same gesture that Crawford had made, that Reynolds had made, that every wrongfully detained person made when the metal finally released. Chief. Morrison's voice softened. What do you need? I need these agents' badge numbers. I need their bodycam footage preserved. And I need to get to the station. He looked at Walsh one final time. I told you to call your supervisor. You didn't listen. I didn't know. You didn't ask. The Maplewood Police Department occupied a 2-story building on Valley Road, red brick, American flag out front, the same station where Patterson had started as a patrol officer 32 years ago. He walked through the front doors at 7:38 a.m., 26 minutes late for his usual arrival. An eternity in a department where the chief's routine was known to everyone. The desk sergeant stood when he entered. Chief, are you okay? We saw the videos. I'm fine, Mike. Get the command staff in the conference room. 10 minutes. Yes, sir. The conference room filled quickly. Deputy Chief Morrison, Captain Rodriguez, head of patrol, Captain Williams, head of investigations, Lieutenant Chun, public information officer, the senior leadership of a department that had just watched its chief handcuffed on social media. Patterson stood at the head of the table. His wrists still bore faint marks from the cuffs. His coffee, long forgotten at the coffee shop, would have been cold anyway. 37 minutes ago, I was detained by ICE agents outside the morning grind. They demanded proof of my legal status. When I showed them my badge and identified myself as chief, they dismissed my credentials as potentially fake and handcuffed me on the sidewalk. Silence around the table. The particular silence of law enforcement officers processing something that violated everything they understood about professional conduct. I want to be clear about something. This department will cooperate fully with any investigation, federal, state, or local. We will provide whatever documentation, testimony, or evidence is requested. That's what professional law enforcement does. He looked around the table. We do not obstruct. We do not cover up. We do not circle the wagons when someone in a badge does wrong. The agents who detain me are going to face consequences. Those consequences will be determined through proper channels, with proper evidence, following proper procedure. Captain Rodriguez spoke first. Chief, what do you need from us? I need this department to continue operating as if this morning never happened. We have a briefing at 8 o'clock. We have patrol shifts to cover. We have a community to serve. That doesn't stop because I had a bad morning. With respect, sir, this is more than a bad morning. I know what it is. It's a civil rights violation. It's federal misconduct. It's going to be a lawsuit and probably criminal charges. But it's not going to distract this department from its mission. Lieutenant Chun raised her hand. Sir, I'm getting media requests. A lot of them. Tell them I'll make a statement at noon. Not before. I need to talk to my family first. Yes, sir. And Karen. He used her first name. Unusual in a command meeting, but this wasn't a usual morning. When I make that statement, I'm going to say that the agents involved do not represent the majority of federal law enforcement. Most ICE agents, most federal officers, conduct themselves professionally. I'm not going to paint everyone with the brush that belongs to one man. Understood. Patterson looked at Morrison. Angela, I need you to contact the Essex County Prosecutor and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Newark. They need to know what happened before they see it on the news. Already on it, Chief. And I need someone to bring me a cup of coffee. The tension broke slightly. A few tired smiles around the table. I didn't get to finish the one I bought this morning. He sat down for the first time since entering the building. Now, let's have our briefing. We've got a department to run. The meeting continued. Patrol schedules. Case updates. The ordinary business of a police department on an ordinary Tuesday. Except nothing about this Tuesday would be ordinary again. The FBI Civil Rights Division opened an investigation within 24 hours. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of New Jersey assigned 2 prosecutors. ICE Office of Professional Responsibility initiated an internal inquiry. The Bodycam footage was secured first. Both agents' recordings. The coffee shop's security camera. Cell phone videos from at least 8 bystanders. Every angle documented. But the footage only told part of the story. The investigation revealed the architecture beneath it. Agent Derek Walsh had accumulated 15 complaints in 9 years. Discriminatory conduct, harassment, excessive force during detention, failure to follow verification protocols. 12 had been dismissed through internal review. 3 had resulted in written reprimands, paper that went into his file and changed nothing. The pattern was visible in the data. His enforcement actions consistently targeted black professionals in affluent New Jersey communities. Montclair, South Orange, Milburn, towns where a black man in nice clothes apparently constituted suspicious activity. 23 prior detentions over 4 years. 21 involved black or Hispanic individuals. 0 had resulted in any immigration enforcement action. Every one had been released after verification proved they were exactly who they claimed to be. His social media accounts completed the picture. Posts shared from anti-immigration accounts. Comments about anchor babies and diversity hires. Membership in online groups where federal agents traded strategies for quality enforcement in target-rich environments. Text messages to fellow agents revealed the casual racism that had made Patterson an easy target. Got another one in Maplewood today. Suit and tie. Thought he was untouchable. These people think they can live anywhere now. Badge on his belt looked fake. Everything they have looks fake. The irony was bitter. Walsh had called Patterson's badge fake while his own conduct had been fraudulent for years. Agent Reyes, Walsh's partner, was interviewed separately. His cooperation determined whether he would face charges or merely termination. Did you believe Chief Patterson's credentials were legitimate? I had doubts about the stop from the beginning. Did you express those doubts? I tried. Derek said he'd handle it. Did you attempt to verify Chief Patterson's identity through any official channel? I suggested it. Derek refused. When Deputy Chief Morrison arrived and identified Chief Patterson, what went through your mind? Silence. Agent Reyes? I knew we had made a terrible mistake. You knew. But you participated anyway. I should have stopped it. I should have called for verification myself. I should have, his voice broke. I should have done my job. The investigation into ICE's patterns extended beyond Walsh. Data analysis revealed that enforcement actions in affluent New Jersey communities consistently targeted minorities at rates far exceeding their presence in those populations. The agents weren't finding unauthorized individuals. They were profiling black professionals and hoping something would stick. Patterson reviewed the investigation's findings in his office. The complaint history, the social media posts, the pattern of stops that had terrorized innocent people for years. 23 people, he said to the FBI agents who briefed him. 23 people detained, humiliated, traumatized, for nothing. For being black in the wrong zip code. You were number 24. I was the first one wearing a badge they couldn't dismiss. He closed the folder. What happens to the others? The ones who didn't have a police department behind them. We're reaching out. They're all potential plaintiffs. They're all witnesses to his pattern. Good. They deserve to know this wasn't random. They deserve justice too. The federal courtroom in Newark drew attention from across the state. A police chief detained for buying coffee. The case had become a symbol of everything wrong with pretextual enforcement. Patterson testified in his dress uniform. 32 years of service displayed on his chest, Medal of Valor ribbons, FBI National Academy pin, the gold badge that Walsh had dismissed as fake. On October 15th, I stopped at the Morning Grind on Maplewood Avenue, the same coffee shop I visited every Tuesday for 8 years. I ordered my usual, large black coffee, no sugar, and stepped outside to walk to my vehicle. What happened next? Agent Walsh approached me and demanded proof of legal status. Did you provide identification? I showed him my badge. Chief of Police, Maplewood. Badge number 001. I explained that I had served as chief for 8 years and that anyone on the street could verify my identity. What was his response? He said the badge could be fake. He said anyone could buy a uniform. He refused to verify my credentials through any official channel. The Bodycam footage was played for the jury. They watched Walsh demand papers. They watched Patterson show his badge. They watched the badge dismissed. They watched the handcuffs applied while the coffee shop, the community, watched in horror. Chief Patterson, what was going through your mind when you were handcuffed? I was thinking about my grandfather. William Patterson Sr. He fought in World War II as a Buffalo soldier. He came home and bought a house in Maplewood because he believed this country would eventually treat him as a citizen. He paused. I was thinking about my father, who worked sanitation for 40 years and never missed a day. About my mother, who fed children in the school cafeteria and knew every family in town. About my own career, 32 years trying to prove that law enforcement could be fair. His voice remained steady, but the weight was audible. And I was standing on the sidewalk in handcuffs, being asked to prove I belonged in the town my family has called home for 4 generations. The witnesses who followed reinforced the narrative. Martha Chun, who had known Patterson for 30 years. The desk sergeant who had seen the video and scrambled to respond. Deputy Chief Morrison, who had arrived to find her chief being detained. Walsh's defense attempted the standard arguments. Good faith. Following training. No way to know. The prosecutor's rebuttal was surgical. No way to know. Chief Patterson showed him a police badge. He identified himself by name and rank. He pointed to his marked vehicle. He offered verification through multiple channels. Agent Walsh didn't want to know. He had decided what he was looking at before he asked the first question. She displayed his stop records. 24 detentions. 23 of them minorities. 0 immigration violations found. This wasn't enforcement. This was profiling. And Chief Patterson was his 24th victim, the first one who had the power to fight back. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Civil rights violations. False imprisonment. Deprivation of rights under color of law. Walsh sat motionless as the verdicts were read. His 9-year federal career had ended in a coffee shop parking lot, undone by assumptions that a 32-year police chief had spent his career trying to correct. The sentencing hearing brought the same attention as the trial. The judge reviewed Walsh's personnel file with visible contempt. Agent Walsh, you were entrusted with the authority to enforce immigration law. Instead, you used that authority to harass, detain, and humiliate law-abiding citizens based solely on their race. Your pattern of conduct spans years and victims. Your targeting was systematic, your dismissals predictable, your prejudice documented. She paused. When you detained Chief Patterson, you didn't just violate his rights. You insulted 4 generations of American service. His grandfather fought for this country. His family built this community. He dedicated his life to law enforcement. And you couldn't see past the color of his skin. The sentence, for years federal prison. Enhanced for pattern of conduct. Enhanced for targeting under color of authority. Walsh was led from the courtroom in handcuffs. The same restraints he had applied to Patterson on a Tuesday morning that felt like a different lifetime. The civil settlement followed within 3 months. The Department of Homeland Security agreed to pay $5.2 million rather than face a trial that would expose systemic failures across multiple field offices. Patterson distributed the settlement with characteristic purpose. $2 million to establish the Patterson Justice Fund, providing legal representation to victims of pretextual enforcement stops. The 23 other people Walsh had detained would have resources to pursue their own cases. $1 million to Maplewood community programs, youth athletics, after-school tutoring, the organizations that had shaped him and would shape the next generation. The remaining funds secured his family's legacy. College funds for grandchildren. support for his parents' care, the stability that 4 generations of service should have guaranteed. ICE entered a consent decree in New Jersey requiring enhanced oversight, mandatory verification protocols, and civilian review of enforcement targeting decisions. The patterns that had allowed Walsh to operate for years would finally face scrutiny. Agent Reyes was terminated but not prosecuted. His cooperation had been valuable, his remorse genuine. His silence had been complicity, but his testimony had been redemption. Patterson returned to work the day after the settlement was announced. Same office, same responsibilities, same commitment. The department had continued functioning throughout the ordeal, patrols maintained, cases investigated, community served. That had been his instruction from the first morning, and his officers had followed it. He made one change to his routine. Every Tuesday morning, he still went to the morning grind. Same order. Large black coffee, no sugar. Same walk from his car to the counter to the sidewalk. The owner, James Hartley, refused to let him pay anymore. Patterson insisted. They had compromised. Patterson paid. Hartley donated the money to the Youth Football League. Some mornings, other customers recognized him, shook his hand, said they had seen the video, followed the case, celebrated the verdict. He thanked them and moved on. The work wasn't about recognition. It never had been. For generations of Pattersons in Maplewood, his grandfather's house still stood on Valley Street, still in the family, still home to the values that had been passed down through decades. William Patterson III still walked the streets his grandfather had walked, protected the community his father had served, carried the legacy his mother had nurtured. The badge on his belt was the same one Walsh had called fake. Gold. Polished. Real. Chief of Police. Maplewood, New Jersey. Badge 001.
Every historical record bears witness. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to keep opening the vault.